Do not ask me what happened, I whispered. The man at table 12 looked at my wrist and said, I was not going to. I was going to ask who. The kitchen at Bellanova was 92 degrees, but I wore a black long-sleeved shirt beneath my uniform. Sweat gathered between my shoulders as I carried a tray of sparkling water through the crowded dining room. Chicago rain streaked the tall windows. Every time the front door opened, cold air moved across the floor, and my heart reacted before my mind did. Tyler had been gone from my apartment for 3 weeks. I had changed the locks, changed my route to work, stopped answering unknown numbers. Still, I checked every reflection for his face. Table 12 needs menus, Maria called from the service station. I nodded and tightened my grip on the tray. Table 12 belonged to Dominic Marino. Everyone at Bellanova knew his name, even if no one explained why they lowered their voices around him. He sat at the head of the table in a charcoal suit, broad shoulders filling the chair, dark hair swept back from a face that looked carved rather than born. A thin line of black ink showed near his wrist when he lifted his glass. His 3 companions talked. Dominic watched. Not rudely. Carefully. I placed the first bottle on the table. Still or sparkling? I asked. Sparkling, one man answered. My hand shook as I poured. The tray shifted. A glass tipped toward the edge. I caught it, but my sleeve slid several inches up my arm. The room did not change. The music continued. Silverware touched porcelain. Yet Dominic's gaze settled on the faint marks around my wrist, and suddenly every sound felt far away. I pulled the fabric down. I am sorry. For the glass? He asked. Yes. It did not fall. I reached for the bottle. His voice stopped me. Do not ask me what happened. I said so quietly I barely heard myself. Dominic did not lean closer. He did not lower his voice into something falsely gentle. I was not going to, he said. I was going to ask who. My breath caught. I fell. His gray eyes remained on mine. No, one word. Calm. Certain. It was an accident. Accidents do not teach people to apologize before anything happens. Heat rose into my face. I looked toward the kitchen, but Maria was already watching from behind the service station. Concern tightened her expression. I hated that they could see me. I hated even more that Tyler had made being seen feel dangerous. Dominic placed his napkin beside his untouched plate. You can finish your shift, he said, or you can leave through the kitchen. No one will follow you. I do not need permission. Something almost like respect entered his face. Good. He reached into his jacket, removed a plain white card, and placed it near the edge of the table. No company name. No assistant. Only a number written in black ink. Then decide for yourself. I left the card where it was and returned to work. For the next hour, I convinced myself the moment meant nothing. Then, 10 minutes before closing, Maria caught my arm near the bar. Hannah, she whispered, looking toward the rain-covered windows. A man stood beneath the awning across the street. Tyler. He held up the silver key to my apartment, the lock I had changed yesterday. Dominic appeared beside me without making a sound. He looked through the glass, then at my face. Do you want that man near you? My fear answered before my voice did. Never again. Dominic turned toward the front doors. Lock the restaurant. The front doors clicked shut, and Tyler's expression changed behind the rain-streaked glass. He had expected me to come outside. I could see it in the way he lifted the silver key again, turning it between his fingers like proof that every boundary I built still belonged to him. Dominic remained beside me, close enough to intervene, far enough that I did not feel trapped. Is there another exit? He asked. Through the kitchen. Do you want to use it? I looked at Tyler. 3 weeks earlier, I would have left through the back. I would have changed my route again, slept somewhere else, and called it freedom because he had not found me before morning. No, I said. I am tired of leaving places that are mine. Dominic gave one slow nod. Then we stay. Maria pulled the curtains across the front windows, but I stopped her before the last panel closed. Leave that one open. She looked at me carefully, then obeyed. Tyler stepped closer to the glass. His mouth formed my name. I could not hear him through the door, yet my body remembered the sound. My hands went cold. Dominic noticed, but he did not reach for me. Tell me what you need, he said. Not what he planned to do. Not what he thought was best. What I needed. The difference almost hurt. I need to know how he got that key. Dominic looked toward the silver shape in Tyler's hand. When did you change the lock? Yesterday morning. The landlord sent a locksmith. Who knew? The landlord. Maria, my sister in Milwaukee. Maria crossed herself quickly. I never told anyone. I know. My purse sat beneath the service counter. A sudden thought moved through me. I had not opened it since arriving. I grabbed it and emptied the contents across the bar. Wallet, lip balm, apartment receipt, spare uniform pin. Then something small struck the wood with a plastic click. A second phone. Black. No case. No screen light. I stared at it. That is not mine. Dominic picked up a clean napkin and used it to turn the device over without touching it directly. A tiny green light blinked near the charging port. It is transmitting, he said. My stomach tightened. My location? Probably more. Tyler knocked once on the window. Calmly. Patiently. He knew exactly where I stood. Dominic called one of his men from table 12 and handed him the phone. Check what it is sending. Do not disable it yet. Then he looked at me. Your choice. We can call the police, document the device, and let them speak to him outside. Or we can keep the signal active and find out who receives it. You already know what you want. Yes. But you are asking me. Yes. Tyler knocked again. My phone vibrated on the bar. A message appeared from an unknown number. Come outside, Hannah. We need to talk about Belanova. I read it twice. Why did he mention the restaurant? Dominic's man connected the hidden phone to a small tablet. Lines of data appeared across the screen. Delivery schedules. Staff access codes. Vendor routes. Every file had been copied from the scheduling application on my personal phone. Dominic's expression became completely still. This device is not only tracking you, he said. It has been collecting information about my shipments. I looked through the narrow opening in the curtains. Tyler slipped the key into his pocket and smiled as if he knew we had finally understood. He used me. I whispered. Yes. For how long? Dominic studied the transfer log. At least 3 weeks. The exact length of time since I left him. Tyler had not been trying to bring me home. He had been trying to recover access. A car pulled up beside the curb. Tyler glanced toward it, then walked away from the restaurant without looking back. Dominic's man turned the tablet toward us. One final file had begun transmitting before the signal disappeared. A delivery route scheduled for 5 o'clock that morning. Pier 17. Dominic looked at the time. 2:12. That shipment does not exist, he said. Then why is it on my phone? His gray eyes lifted to mine. Because someone inside Belanova wants Tyler to believe it does. The false route changed everything. Until that moment, I had believed Tyler was watching me because he could not accept that I had left. The truth was colder. I had never been the destination. I had been the doorway. Maria locked the kitchen entrance while Dominic's technician studied the second phone at the bar. Rain pressed against the windows. The dining room had gone silent. Chairs half stacked, candles burning beside untouched glasses. Who created the 5 o'clock route? I asked. Dominic looked toward the scheduling screen. Only 3 people have permission. You? Yes. Maria? No, she folded her arms. I manage food, not freight. Dominic's technician enlarged the file history. The route had been entered under my employee identification at 11:43 that morning, while I was asleep in my apartment. Tyler knew my password, I said. He used to order groceries from my phone. Did you change it after leaving? Dominic asked. Shame rose before the answer. No, he did not judge me. That made it easier to continue. I changed the apartment lock, the bank code, my email. I forgot the restaurant application. You were rebuilding a life, not securing a corporation. His voice remained even. The failure belongs to the person who exploited that. I looked at the hidden phone. Can you trace who receives the data? Not before the shipment time, the technician said. The next connection should reveal the receiving device. Dominic turned to me. You need somewhere Tyler cannot access. My sister lives 90 miles away. He knows where she lives. My stomach tightened. How do you know that? A pause. Small, but long enough for me to notice. Because Tyler searched her address last month, Dominic said. You investigated him. After he approached one of my drivers. When, 6 months ago, the room seemed to shift. You knew who he was before tonight. I knew he was selling information. I did not know he was using you to collect it. But you saw us together. His silence answered first. I remembered a charity dinner in the spring. Tyler had insisted I wear blue. He had spent most of the evening speaking to men near the terrace while I waited beside the bar. Dominic had been there. I had noticed him because everyone else had. You watched me, I said. I watched him. Through me. Yes. The honesty struck harder than denial. Why did you not warn me? You appeared to be with him willingly. So you decided I understood what he was doing? I decided asking questions might expose you before I knew your role. My role. The word left my mouth like something bitter. Tyler had treated me like access. Dominic had treated me like a possibility on a report. Two powerful men studying my life without ever asking whether I needed help. I grabbed my purse. I am leaving. Dominic stepped aside immediately. No argument. No hand on the door. There is a furnished apartment 4 blocks from here, he said. It has no connection to Belanova on public records. One of your properties. Yes. Then Tyler could connect it to you. Not tonight. And what would you require? 3 conditions of your choosing. I stopped. No guard inside. Agreed. No tracking my phone. Agreed. No decisions made for me. Dominic's gray eyes held mine. Agreed. Maria touched my shoulder gently. Go somewhere warm, Hannah. We will keep the restaurant closed. 20 minutes later, I stood inside a quiet apartment overlooking the Chicago River. 1 bedroom. 1 locked entrance. No cameras that I could see. Dominic remained in the hallway. I can protect the door, he said. You decide who enters. He handed me the key and left. I locked the door behind him, then opened my purse to remove my wallet. A folded envelope lay beneath it. My name was printed across the front. Inside were warehouse leases, bank forms, and a copy of my driver's license. Every document carried my signature. Every account belonged to a company I had never heard of. At the bottom of the final page was an address. Pier 17, 5 o'clock. Beneath it, Tyler had written 4 words by hand. Hannah takes the blame. The words on the page did not frighten me as much as the handwriting. Tyler had written them casually, the same way he used to leave grocery lists on the refrigerator. Coffee. Milk. Hannah takes the blame. I read the line again until the letters stopped looking familiar. Then I called Rebecca Cole, the attorney Maria once recommended when I first left him. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice rough with sleep. Hannah, I found documents in my purse. What kind of documents? Warehouse leases, bank forms, copies of my identification. My signature is on everything, but I did not sign any of it. Silence sharpened on the other end. Photograph every page. Do not alter them. Do not go to the address. I looked toward the windows. Chicago glittered beneath the rain, distant and cold. The address is connected to a delivery at 5. Then we have less than 3 hours. I photographed each page and sent the files to her secure email. While they uploaded, someone knocked once on the apartment door. My body froze before my mind could catch up. I did not move. Another knock followed. Slow. Controlled. Who is it? Dominic. His voice came through the wood. You told me no one enters without your permission. I kept the chain fastened and opened the door 2 inches. He stood alone in the hallway, his charcoal coat damp from the rain. No guards. No questions in his expression. Why are you here? Maria called. She said you sounded frightened when you left. I was frightened before I left. Yes. The answer carried no defense. I held the envelope where he could see it. Tyler put this in my purse. Dominic did not reach for it. May I look? I hesitated, then removed the chain and stepped aside. He entered only far enough to close the door. I placed the documents on the kitchen counter. His eyes moved across the leases, the account forms, and the copied license. When he reached the handwritten line, something in his face went still. These accounts connect to Pier 17, he said. I know. The warehouse is registered to a freight broker named Logan Pierce. Do you know him? He works for a group trying to take control of my northbound routes. I folded my arms. So Tyler was collecting information for them. Yes. And they planned to use my name if anything went wrong. Yes. How long did you suspect this? Dominic looked at the pages instead of me. 6 months. Anger rose so quickly it steadied my hands. You keep saying that as though it explains everything. It explains my failure. I stared at him. Your failure was not missing the plan. It was deciding I did not deserve to know I was inside it. He accepted the words without moving. You are right. Do not agree with me just to end the conversation. I am not. His gray eyes lifted. I was wrong to study your life instead of asking about it. The sentence landed harder than any excuse could have. Tyler had never admitted harm without turning it back on me. Dominic stood in my kitchen and left the blame where it belonged. I picked up my phone. Rebecca says not to go to the pier. She is right. I am still going to Belanova. Why? Because Tyler expects me to panic. He expects me to hide while he uses my name. Dominic's jaw tightened. What are you planning? I'm going to send him a message. I will tell him I found the files and that I want to make a deal. He will come. That is the point. Hannah, do not tell me no. He exhaled slowly. Then tell me what you need. I looked at the man who could close a restaurant with one sentence and asked for the one thing Tyler had never given me. Distance. Dominic nodded. How much? Enough that this remains my decision. And if you call, then you come. He reached into his coat and placed the plain white card on the counter, the same one I had left at table 12. One number, he said. No assistant. I typed it into my phone, then opened Tyler's last message. My fingers hovered above the screen before I wrote the reply. I found the Pier 17 papers. Meet me at Bellanova before 5. Come alone. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Then his answer arrived. I knew you would understand. Dominic read the message from across the counter. He thinks you are coming back. I locked the phone and looked toward the first pale edge of morning beyond the river. Let him. At 3:47, Bellanova looked like a different place. The dining room was dark except for the amber lights above the bar. Every chair rested upside down on a table. Rainwater glowed beneath the street lamps outside. Maria stood in the kitchen with Rebecca Cole and a private investigator named Samuel Grant, a former city detective with a quiet voice and a notebook he never stopped holding. Dominic was not inside the restaurant. That had been my condition. He agreed to wait in a building across the street with his men and answer only if I called. The recorder is active, Samuel said. He pointed toward a small device hidden beneath the bar. Your phone is transmitting to Rebecca's office. Keep the conversation natural. Do not argue about details you cannot prove. He will try to make me doubt myself. Rebecca adjusted the folder in front of me, then returned to the documents. Dates, accounts, signatures. Facts are harder to manipulate than feelings. Maria placed both hands around mine. You do not have to do this. I know. That was why I could. For the first time, staying was not something another person demanded. It was a choice I had made after seeing every exit. At 4:12, Tyler sent a message. Outside, alone, I looked through the front window. He stood beneath the awning in a gray coat, his hair wet from the rain. No silver key this time. No smile. I typed one word. Yes. Maria and Rebecca moved into the kitchen. Samuel stepped into the manager's office where he could hear everything without being seen. I unlocked the front door and opened it. Tyler entered with the confidence of someone returning to a room he still believed belonged to him. His gaze moved across the empty tables, then settled on me. You look tired, he said. Once, those words would have made me apologize. Sit down. He raised his eyebrows. You are giving orders now? I found the warehouse leases. The amusement disappeared from his face. He took the stool across from me. Where? My purse. Then you understand why I needed you to cooperate. I understand my name is attached to accounts I did not open. They are temporary. The same word men used when they wanted consequences to belong to someone else. I opened the folder and placed the copies between us. This signature is not mine. Tyler barely glanced at it. It looks like yours. Because you practiced. His eyes lifted. Be careful, Hannah. Why? Are you going to tell me I am confused? You are overwhelmed. Are you going to say you did everything for us? I did. There it was. The familiar door. The one he expected me to walk through. I kept my voice level. Tell me about Logan Pierce. Tyler leaned back. Who gave you that name? The warehouse lease. Then you read more than you should have. Why was Bellanova's delivery schedule copied from my phone? Because Marino's routes are worth money. And I was the easiest way in. He looked almost offended. You benefited too. How? The apartment. The trips. The clothes. You paid for those with accounts opened in my name. His jaw tightened. You would never have noticed if you had stayed where you belonged. My heart stumbled, but I did not look away. With you? Away from people like Dominic Marino. You mean away from anyone who might ask questions. Tyler placed one hand on the folder. Give me the original documents. Why? Because 5 o'clock is almost here, and Logan expects the route file. The route is false. For the first time, fear crossed his face. Small. Immediate. Who told you that? You just did. Silence filled the restaurant. Tyler looked toward the dark kitchen, then back at me. This is a setup. No. This is a conversation you thought you controlled. He stood. I stayed seated. Where is the second phone? He asked. With someone who knows what it transmitted. Hannah, listen to me. Marino will use you, then leave you responsible when his people are finished. That was your plan. You do not know what his world does to people. I know what yours did to me. Tyler moved toward the door, but Rebecca stepped from the kitchen holding her phone. Samuel followed, displaying his investigator's credentials. Maria remained beside them. Tyler stopped. His face changed as he counted the witnesses. You recorded me. I picked up my phone from beneath the bar. Dominic's number waited on the screen, untouched. I documented you. Blue lights reflected faintly across the wet street outside. Samuel had contacted the Financial Crimes Unit before Tyler arrived. Tyler stared at me as though I had become someone he had never met. Maybe I had. You think this ends with an attorney and a recording? He asked. No. I placed the forged documents back into the folder. It ends because every account, every message, and every copied file now exists somewhere you cannot reach. The front door opened behind him. 2 investigators entered and asked Tyler to remain while they reviewed the complaint. No shouting, no spectacle, just questions he could no longer answer for me. My phone vibrated once. A message from Dominic appeared. Do you need me? I watched Tyler realize that leaving the restaurant would no longer erase what he had admitted. Then I typed my answer. Not yet. The investigators kept Tyler at Bellanova while they compared his statements with the documents Rebecca had provided. Dawn had not reached the windows yet, but the darkness outside was beginning to thin. I sat at the end of the bar with Maria beside me, holding a cup of coffee I never drank. Tyler remained near the front table, answering questions in a voice that grew less confident each time the investigators showed him another record. Bank transfers, location logs, copies of messages, warehouse leases carrying my name. The truth did not arrive all at once. It arrived page by page until there was nowhere left for him to hide inside his own explanations. At 4:42, one investigator approached Rebecca and spoke quietly. She listened, then looked at me. They found Logan Pierce at Pier 17, she said. The false route drew him there. Was anyone else involved? I asked. 2 freight contractors. Both are cooperating. Tyler turned sharply. You sent them to the pier? I looked at him. No, you did. His face tightened. You do not understand what Marino planned. Dominic did not create the documents in my name. He created the fake shipment. After you spent months stealing real information. Tyler looked toward the windows as if expecting someone to appear beyond them. He will not let this end in a courtroom. I heard the fear beneath his certainty. It was the same fear he had used against me for years. Powerful men. Dangerous consequences. A world too complicated for me to survive alone. My phone vibrated again. Dominic's message remained unanswered beneath the first. I am across the street. I will stay here unless you ask otherwise. I showed the screen to Rebecca. He kept his word, she said. So far. That mattered. Not because I needed Dominic to be perfect. Because I needed him to understand that trust was built one boundary at a time. The lead investigator asked Tyler to accompany them downtown for further questioning. He was not placed in restraints. He was simply informed that the financial records, tracking device, and recorded admissions required a formal interview. Tyler looked at me before leaving. Hannah, tell them this was a misunderstanding. 6 months earlier, I would have searched his face for the version of him I once loved. That morning, I saw only a man asking me to erase myself one final time. It was not a misunderstanding, I said. You understood exactly what you were doing. The doors closed behind him at 4:58. Maria released a breath and began to cry quietly. I did not. I expected relief to feel warm. Instead, it felt like standing in an empty room after a loud machine had finally stopped. Rebecca gathered the documents. The court can issue an emergency no-contact order this morning, she said. The fraudulent accounts will be flagged, and your bank should have protective measures in place before noon. Will Tyler be released? Possibly. An investigation is not a conviction. My stomach tightened. Freedom had never meant pretending danger was impossible. It meant preparing without surrendering my life to it. Then we finish this legally, I said. Every account, every device, every person who helped him. Rebecca nodded. That is exactly what we do. At 5:11, the first sunlight touched the buildings across the street. Dominic still stood beneath the awning opposite Bellanova, alone in his dark coat. He had waited through the entire meeting without crossing the road. I walked outside. Cold morning air moved across my face. Dominic looked at me, then toward the vehicle carrying Tyler away. Do you need me now? He asked. I need the truth. About what? The false shipment. Logan Pierce. Everything you knew before tonight. He was silent for one breath. Then you will have it. Even if it makes me leave? His gray eyes held mine. Especially then. I looked back at Belanova, where the lights still burned above the empty tables. Tyler was gone from the street, but his fear had not vanished from my body. Not yet. Dominic stepped aside, leaving the sidewalk open in both directions. Where do you want to go? He asked. For the first time in years, I did not choose the safest answer. I chose the honest one. Back inside. We are not finished. We returned to the same table where Tyler had sat less than an hour earlier. The coffee had gone cold. The hidden recorder still blinked beneath the bar. Maria stayed in the kitchen with Rebecca, while Dominic took the chair across from me. He removed his coat and folded it over the backrest. Black ink curved beneath the cuff of his shirt. For the first time, he did not look like the man who owned the room. He looked like someone waiting to be judged inside it. Start 6 months ago, I said. Dominic rested both hands on the table. One of my drivers noticed delivery information appearing in Logan Pierce's bids before our schedules were public. So you investigated everyone with access? Yes. Including me. Including Tyler first. I waited. He understood that silence was not permission to stop. Tyler attended a charity event where one of my managers discussed Belanova's supplier routes. He continued. 2 weeks later, Pierce changed his shipping pattern using details only staff should have known. And you saw me with Tyler at that event. Yes. The memory returned with painful clarity. Tyler had insisted I remain near the bar while he spoke to strangers on the terrace. Dominic had watched from across the room. I had mistaken his attention for arrogance. You thought I was helping him, I said. I considered it. Did you consider asking? No. His answer came without hesitation. Why? Because in my world, questions warn people before evidence is ready. This is not only your world. I know that now. I folded my arms. When did you realize I was not involved? Last night, when your sleeve moved. My stomach tightened. That is what convinced you. Not the marks alone. Your reaction. You apologized for a glass that never fell. You watched every entrance. You looked at the door before you answered simple questions. So you read me. Yes. Again. Dominic lowered his gaze. Yes. The truth hurt because it was not disguised. I stood and moved toward the windows. Morning traffic had begun to fill the street. People walked past Belanova carrying coffee, unaware that my life had split open behind the glass. You made the false route, I said. I authorized it after the second phone was found. You used my account. The file was placed under your identification because Tyler expected it there. I turned. Without asking me. Yes. That could have made me look involved. Rebecca already had a time-stamped copy showing the route was created after the device was discovered. You protected yourself legally. I protected you legally. Without telling me. Dominic stood, but he did not come closer. I believed the route was the fastest way to expose Logan before he moved the operation. And I was still the bait. His face hardened, not at me, but at the word. Yes. The admission settled between us. Tyler had used my access because he believed I would never question him. Dominic had used my name because he believed the outcome justified the decision. One had controlled me through fear. The other had controlled the situation through secrecy. The difference mattered, but not enough. I am leaving the apartment, I said. It is yours as long as you need it. I do not want it. Understood. I do not want your guards near my home. They will not be there. I do not want my work schedule reviewed by your people. It will stop today. Every answer came immediately. No argument. No persuasion. That should have made leaving easier. It did not. Why are you not trying to stop me? I asked. Dominic looked toward the open front door. Because I already made the mistake of studying your life instead of asking about it. I will not make the next mistake by deciding when you are allowed to walk away. I picked up my purse. Maria appeared at the kitchen entrance, worry in her eyes. I gave her one small nod. I was not running. I was choosing distance. At the door, I looked back at Dominic. Tyler is not the only man who needs to disappear from my life for a while. Pain crossed his face, quiet and controlled. How long? Until I know whether you respect the answer. He stepped away from the table, leaving the path clear. Then I will wait where you can see me, Hannah, not where I can watch you. 3 weeks passed before I saw Dominic again. During that time, Tyler was formally charged with identity fraud, unlawful tracking, and conspiracy to steal commercial data. The emergency no-contact order became temporary protection while Rebecca prepared the longer case. Logan Pierce agreed to cooperate after investigators traced the false route through his warehouse accounts. Belanova reopened, but I changed everything about the way I worked. I replaced every password, removed shared access, reviewed every employee permission with Maria. I stopped checking the front door whenever it opened. Not completely. Healing was not a switch. It was a habit I had to practice. Dominic kept his distance exactly as promised. No men outside my apartment. No unexplained cars near the restaurant. No messages asking whether I was safe. Once each week, a plain envelope arrived through Rebecca's office. Inside was a written report documenting what Dominic's organization had known about Tyler, Logan, and the stolen routes. Nothing was hidden. Nothing was softened. The third envelope contained a signed statement admitting that Dominic had authorized the false shipment under my employee identification without my consent. He had given the same statement to investigators. It could damage his businesses. He submitted it anyway. I read that page 4 times. Tyler had always promised honesty when honesty cost him nothing. Dominic told the truth when it gave me the power to walk away forever. On the 22nd morning, I asked Maria to call him. "You have his number," she said. "I know." "Then why me?" I looked across the dining room at table 12. "Because I want him invited to the restaurant, not summoned into my life." Dominic arrived after closing. He wore a dark suit without a coat, his tattoo visible beneath one rolled cuff. He stopped inside the entrance and waited. "You asked to see me. I asked Maria to invite you. There is a difference." "Yes." I placed his third report on the bar. "You admitted creating the false route." "I did. Investigators may use that against you. They should use every relevant fact. You could have protected yourself." That was the thinking that caused the problem. He remained 6 feet away, no closer than necessary. "Why did you stay silent for 3 weeks?" I asked. "Because you requested distance. Most men like you do not accept being dismissed. Most men like me confuse access with respect. And you do not." "I have." His answer carried no pride, only ownership. I looked toward the rain-darkened windows. "Tyler's attorney says he may accept a plea agreement. Rebecca told me. His accounts are restricted. The apartment key was copied by the locksmith's assistant, who was being paid through Logan. I know. That assistant is cooperating too." "Yes." By sunrise that morning, everyone said you made Tyler disappear. Dominic's expression remained still. "Rumors are useful to men who want fear to perform their work." "Did you encourage them?" "No." "Did you correct them?" A pause. "Not immediately." "Why?" "Because the rumor kept Logan's other contacts from approaching you." I felt the old anger stir. Protection without permission. "Yes." Again. "Yes." He did not defend it. "I corrected the story yesterday. My attorney informed every relevant partner that Tyler was removed through a lawful investigation led by evidence you secured. That makes you look less powerful." Then perhaps I was measuring power incorrectly. Silence settled between us. Softer this time. I moved around the bar and stopped several feet from him. "I do not need you to make anyone vanish. I understand. I do not need your apartment, your guards, or your decisions." "Understood. But I may need a business partner." His eyes narrowed slightly. "Belanova. Maria wants to retire within 2 years. The owner is selling. I intend to buy controlling interest." "What do you want from me?" "Transparent financing. Written limits. Independent counsel. No hidden ownership." And personally, my heartbeat changed, but I did not look away. The same terms. Truth. Boundaries. No assumptions. Dominic nodded once. "Agreed." "You answered quickly." "Because none of those conditions cost me anything I should wish to keep." I held out my hand. He looked at it before taking it, giving me time to change my mind. His grip was warm, careful, temporary until I chose otherwise. Outside, the rain had stopped. Morning light began to touch the buildings beyond Belanova's windows. Tyler had disappeared from my daily life through court orders, evidence, and consequences. Dominic had stepped out of it because I asked him to. Only one of those men understood that returning required permission. 6 months later, Belanova opened under new ownership. Mine. The brass sign above the entrance remained the same, but everything behind it had changed. Maria stayed as executive chef, though she worked fewer evenings and finally took Sundays off. Rebecca reviewed every contract. An independent accountant controlled the books. No employee schedule could be copied without written authorization. No manager could access personal information without a recorded reason. I had learned that safety was not created by trusting the right person. It was created by building systems that did not require blind trust at all. Tyler accepted a plea agreement. The court extended the no-contact order, the fraudulent accounts were closed, and every lease carrying my forged signature was canceled. Logan Pierce lost his freight contracts and agreed to testify about the stolen data. People still whispered that Dominic Marino had made Tyler disappear before sunrise. They preferred that version. It sounded dramatic, powerful, simple. The truth was less mysterious. Tyler disappeared from my life because evidence replaced fear, boundaries replaced excuses, and I finally stopped protecting the man who had never protected me. On Bellanova's reopening night, rain moved softly against the windows. Just as it had the evening, everything began. The dining room glowed beneath warm chandeliers. Every table was full. At table 12, Dominic sat alone. He wore a charcoal suit, his dark hair swept back, the edge of his tattoo visible beneath one cuff. He owned 40% of the building through a transparent investment agreement Rebecca had rewritten 4 times. I owned controlling interest in the restaurant. Every decision required my signature. Dominic had agreed without negotiation. That mattered more than the money. I carried 2 glasses of sparkling water to his table. Still watching the room? I asked. Occupational habit. You should work on that. I am. He looked at my wrist. Not at the place the marks had once been. At the silver watch I had bought with my first profit distribution. You are late, he said. I own the restaurant. Then you are exactly on time. I sat across from him. 6 months earlier, taking that chair would have felt like entering his world. That night, he was sitting inside mine. Maria passed nearby and gave me a knowing smile. Dominic noticed. She does not trust me, he said. She trusts me to decide whether you deserve trust. Do I? Some days. The corner of his mouth shifted. Honest. That was the agreement. Outside, a man paused beneath the awning and looked through the glass. My body reacted before I could stop it. My shoulders tightened. My breath shortened. Dominic saw it. He did not turn toward the window. He did not call anyone. He waited for me to look again. The man checked the address on his phone, then entered the bakery next door. Nothing happened. I released the breath I had been holding. Healing had not erased every alarm inside me. It had taught me that an alarm was information, not a command. Do you want me to move closer? Dominic asked. No. Do you want me to check outside? No, what do you want? I looked around Bellanova. At Maria laughing near the kitchen. At servers moving confidently between tables. At the front door I no longer feared opening. Stay where you are. Dominic nodded. I can do that. The lights dimmed as the pianist began the final song of the evening. Dominic held out his hand across the table, then stopped before touching mine. Always the pause. Always the question. I placed my hand in his. Are you still afraid of me? He asked. I considered the truth. Sometimes. His expression did not harden. Fair. But fear is not making my decisions anymore. Then what is? I tightened my fingers around his. I am. By sunrise, Tyler had vanished from the street outside Bellanova. Months later, the last of his power vanished too. Dominic did not erase him. The law did not erase my memories. Time did not erase what happened. I simply stopped erasing myself to make other people comfortable. That was how fear finally lost my address.